Today I'm going to be bringing you through how to utilize the SWOOP peak in the best way, as the mechanics for the SWOOP peak have changed once again, so I'm here to tell you everything possible so you can absolutely dominate in your ranked games using the SWOOP peak. So, as I'm sure most of you know, previously, the way you would get your SWOOP peak is you would have to be near the center of the smoke and crouched. This would mean if I'm around here, I'd be able to pick up my smoke or drop it, and I would get the SWOOP peak advantage. However, as you see there, my SWOOP peak advantage doesn't get given. So this is the way Riot now want the SWOOP peak to be, I guess. So as you see, when I pick up my smoke, this outside layer of the smoke drops later than the inside layer. However, if I do a SWOOP peak properly, you see how the smoke drops a lot quicker. Now, this doesn't happen for the enemy team. For the enemy team, the animations are the exact same, which means that if you use your SWOOP peak properly, you see your enemies up 300 milliseconds before they see you. And that's give or take about 50 milliseconds depending on where your placement is within your smoke. Okay, so let's talk about how to use your SWOOP peaks now. So, if my smoke's on the floor, like so, if I want to SWOOP peak towards this side, I have to stand somewhere on this half of the smoke and be looking this direction. If I'm looking this way, I will not get a SWOOP peak advantage. I have to make sure I am looking the direction where I have the smoke in between the direction where I want to peek and me. Now, I can also be on top of my orb for the biggest advantage. If you are crouched on top of your orb, it is about 350 millisecond advantage still that you will get over your enemies. However, this allows me to now be able to peek anywhere in this entire half of the smoke. So I can now peek out this way with my SWOOP peak advantage and see the enemy before they see me, meaning I get the advantage in the gunfight. Now, what does this change mean for Viper? It means that you can now SWOOP peek a lot more aggressively again. You can be moving while you're SWOOP peeking. You don't have to be stationary and crouching. I can now be running with an SMG as I'm coming out of my SWOOP peek. I can now peek with an operator again. I can now use my SWOOP peek for movement again, taking my timings. This means I can now do my jump out of window on Haven. So this is a very, very big change and kind of shows, I guess, how Riot want the orb to be used. So, for example, if we bring it over towards A main, what can't you do now? I'm talking about all the things you can do. What can't you do? So if I do my smoke off of here, lands onto door, I now can't SWOOP peek from back here, checking this angle while being safe. I will now have to push out with my orb and go past it to then get the SWOOP peek advantage and clear rope. So this means that you don't always get your SWOOP peek advantage, but it means you have to position yourself in a bit more of an aggressive manner to be able to get that SWOOP peek advantage, which I guess is what Riot is trying to suggest. You have to put yourself in a bit more of an aggressive and more risky position to be able to get that advantage. But this still means that SWOOP peeks are super, super strong with walls. If I do, I don't know, a wall like this, let's say, and we're now pushing up towards B. I've cleared everything tower. I don't know. This guy's died to an operator. I can now... Oh, wow. I love this game. Physics. So if I have my orb here with my wall, this now gives me options to peek any direction I want. If I need to peek this side, I get my SWOOP peek advantage. If I peek this side, I get my SWOOP peek advantage. If I get peek this side, I get my SWOOP peek advantage. Whereas before, because I would have to be central to my smoke, I would have to be somewhere close to the center, I wouldn't be able to get this SWOOP peek advantage all the time, and not in the most favorable position. I can now put myself in a better position while taking my SWOOP peeks. This SWOOP peek is a lot more like what we used to see back in the day. But rather than you being able to SWOOP peek wherever you want in your orb and always get that 200 or 350 millisecond advantage, it's now a 300 millisecond advantage depending on where you are in your smoke, give or take 50 milliseconds, and you only get it in half the smoke. If I SWOOP peek back here behind my smoke, I am not going to get the advantage. So just make sure that you're using your SWOOP peeks properly in your games, because otherwise, if you are doing this wrong and you do your SWOOP peek like this, where you're behind your orb and you see you're behind your orb as you go to pick it up, you will see the enemy at the exact same point where he sees you. And then one thing which I don't think many Viper mains do, probably except me, is a fake SWOOP peek, which you can now do because you can now move and stand up in your smoke. So we're going to go into our smoke, we are going to press Q and put it down and then pick up our orb. Now this will drop the smoke and then put it back up for a split second, meaning that we can get a quick SWOOP peek.
Poison's off.
So as you see, the orb comes up for a quick second, and for enemies, this lasts a lot longer. So you can then peek up with the enemies, catch people off guard completely as they're like, what is happening with the smoke? Oh my god, I've just been shot in the head. So it's a really little mechanic which can catch people off in 1v1 situations where you just need to mess with their heads, especially if you've been swoop peeking all game. It's a nice thing to catch them off later on. I just needed to do a quick update because there's misinformation from my last video that's gone out, and anyone that goes to watch that will then be doing swoop peeks wrong. So I just need to get this video out just to make sure that everybody understands and is using swoop peek to the best possible ability. Otherwise, I'm going to leave you with some Viper clips just to end off the video. I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure you stop by some of my streams. I've been streaming an absolute ton on Twitch recently, so make sure you stop by for some high tier Radiant Viper gameplay. But either way guys, that's enough from me. Just remember, stay safe, stay toxic, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.
Rain is gone. Spike planted.
Last player standing.
One mid, one heaven.
Poison orb emitting. Poison's on.
One enemy remaining.
Okay.
Toxin screen down. Don't get in my way. Poison orb emitting. Toxins going up.
One enemy remaining.
Toxin screen down.
Spike down mid. One enemy remaining.
Mid.
Poison orb emitting. Toxin screen down.
Two. He's low HP. Jet low HP.
Reloading.
Mission two.
They're dead. Poison orb emitting. Poison's off.
Jet still low
Spike
HP.
down A.
Poison orb.
Flashing.
Last player
One
standing.
mid.
One enemy remaining.
Poison orb emitting.
Just not okay.
One enemy remaining.
Your fault.
Reloading.
Ended.
Screen, one screen.
Poison orb emitting.
Screen's on.
Can you close this smoke, please?
Poison's off.
One enemy remaining.
To die. Toxins going up. Poison orb emitting. Toxin screen down.
Double one.
Three down.
Nailed it.
Can one mid.
There. Stuffed out.
Can be man.
One enemy remaining.
Coming back mid.
You have an arrow.
Satchel out. Last player standing. Thrifty.
Like the video and subscribe, or I'll find you in your sleep and I'll punch you in the face.